Welcome back to the Hammy Show. We have one very special guest, a good friend of mine, but even a better human being, a professor of things in general, if you will, somebody that epitomizes not himself, but others. This is John Fiveash. John, thank you so much for being here on the Hammy Show. We obviously see each other in many social settings, but never really professional settings like this. So it's fun to get to see you in this setting. But what we're here to talk about is something that is a very serious matter, and that is suicide and the fight against suicide, which John is a part of. What he does for this event that is taking place tomorrow, at the time of this recording, is parallel to. It's amazing. And so, John, we thank you for that first of all. But let's talk about the fight against suicide. What is your exact role within the event? What are you doing right now?
So I've been lucky enough. I've been involved with the fight for the past 3 years. We're going on year number 4 here. And so this year, kind of stepping away from the, people on campus role and more so stepping into the correspondence with the kind of event staff role. So I guess my official title would be Director of Event Operations.
There you go.
So I'm working, hand in hand with the Classic Center from, putting down a deposit, talking, dates of the fight, to ticketing, to marketing. So more so on the event side versus, maybe the fundraising side as I was in years past.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned this is going on year 4. In the past 4 years, it has been the best night of the fall. Getting to see some of the guys that you've eat lunch with, that you go downtown with. You get to see them in the ring, man in the arena. What has this event meant to you for the past 3 years, and now a day away, going on year 4?
Well, so I think the coolest part about it is just being able to see the growth. Like I said, going on year 4, I think the first year, as we considered a huge success, and I think we raised somewhere just north of $10,000, which is great. First year is always important. And then, just gradual improvement and growth since then. And this year, we're just under $140,000 raised for the Sam Asbury Foundation, which is, so I think it's just incredible to see it really make an impact in the community, and us all being able to rally around the same cause.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, $140,000 is an insane number that, the first year that it took place, you couldn't even have dreamt of getting to that number. So you brought up Sam Asbury. I want to talk about him. You were Sigma Chi. Just before we both got to school in 2020, Sam Asbury lost his life to suicide, and he was a Sigma Chi with you, or a fraternity brother, just before you got there. What does his foundation do since his death?
Yeah, so, like you said, Sam took his life February of 2020, and, his dad, David Asbury, kind of took it upon himself to, honor Sam's name, but also make sure that no other parent has to, go through the same thing that him and his wife have gone through. And so he really just wants to, promote, men's mental health and depression and suicide and all of that. And so, it's just, I think that was the main, whole reason for all of this was just to, start having some of these difficult conversations surrounding mental health. I know, it's not always easy to sit somebody down and say, hey, how are you? Like, are you really doing all right? But, it's been cool to see kind of how that culture's changing. But yeah, so David Asbury started this in honor of his son, Sam. And, Sam was a student athlete. He played, golf at Georgia State before transferring to Georgia. And so one of the main, things that the Sam Asbury Foundation supports is the Hidden Opponent, which is a advocacy group for mental health, kind of with a focus in sports and kind of the hardships of sports. And so I think Mr. Asbury is a big fan of this advocacy group because, Sam had been playing sports his whole life, like many of us. And I think having to give up on your childhood dream. He played golf for 2 years, and I think just kind of making that transition out of, playing sports every day, sports your life, to, not having that. I think that was, a big part of maybe some of his struggles. We don't know. And that's the sad part. But so that's a big part, the hidden opponent. On the same note of sports, Northside Youth Organization, NYO in Atlanta. That's where Sam grew up playing all of his sports. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the baseball fields at NYO is going to be named Sam Asbury Field.
That's amazing.
Which is cool stuff. Another thing that they support is a research program at some associate professor at Texas Tech is looking into the effect of social media and communication studies on mental health. And so the Sam Asbury Foundation is funding that research project. So, it's kind of all over the board, but definitely some good organizations that are supported by this cause.
That's amazing. So, like you said, Mr. Asbury took it over and to remember his son, and also, like you said, so parents like him don't have to experience what they went through. But how did the fight against suicide, what was kind of the conceiving of that? Where did that idea come from, and the beginning of it?
So I would say maybe some underground boxing events in the basement of the fraternity house would be maybe the start of that. I think we held some of these events, and it was all fun, and everybody enjoyed them. You could get everybody to these events on a Friday night or whatever it may have been. And so, we saw how much fun they were, and, although they weren't, the most, whatever, they probably weren't right, but, we kind of we were like, hey, maybe we could actually turn this into something. And so, David Edmiston, who's Sigma Chi, and Will Smith, who's a KA, both of them in their senior year were like, hey, you know what, maybe we should, try this philanthropy event. And, we've had success with this underground boxing. Not that it was an every weekend thing, but, it's, a fun event every now and then. And so they were like, hey, maybe we should, turn this into something, do this for a good cause. But I think also a cool part of it is, you don't really always think of, talking about suicide, and a great way to talk about that is kind of punching each other in the mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
But, it's not easy to talk about suicide. And so I think kind of, being as brute and face it front on, I think that's kind of, what the goal of it was. And so, it also, fight against suicides, and good play on words. So, it all worked well. But, so, I mean, we just kind of saw that maybe there's a way that we could, turn this into something special, and I think that's where it all started.
That's amazing. So, I know I was actually a fighter in this.
That's right.
In the first year of it, and it is an amazing event. It is quite intimidating to stand in the ring and in front of that many people and take it on the chin. But it is a great event. But one of the coolest parts that the fighters do, and that y'all's social media team does such a good job of, is doing a little profile, and they get to talk about why they chose to fight. And it's not just, so I can go hit somebody in the mouth. Right. They chose to fight because they're taking a stand against suicide. And those features have been amazing throughout the years on social media. And like I said, something that y'all have done a great job with. What is, those messages, are heartfelt and it mean a ton. What is your reason for being a part of this?
I mean, I think all of us have had somebody in our lives who have been affected by suicide, maybe just depression or anxiety, whatever it may be. And, I think it's just a way to, kind of open the door to make a change. I think the stat is suicide is the second leading cause of death from males age 18 to 35 or something along the lines of that. And, you wouldn't really think that, especially being a college student, you might, think more of the drug route or something. But, you hear more about, other things that affect college students more so than suicide. And, I think it's just just to bring awareness. And you know, we've all, like I said, we've all had somebody who's gone through it, who's dealt with it, and just kind of trying to be an advocate for them. And you know, have these difficult conversations that, you know, aren't easy, but they'll become more normal over time. And I think that could, you know, just be the start of kind of this changing this epidemic.
Yeah, totally. So the event has turned into this just massive event among college students and really the entire Athens community, not just students. I mean, my parents have been to the fight. I'm sure your parents, relatives of fighters, anybody and everybody's obviously welcome. Tickets are open to the public. But the coolest part is you get there and it's like a true boxing match. Everybody dresses up, men in tuxes, girls in cocktail dresses. And it is really taken the life of something super special. What can you say about the atmosphere once you get into that arena and watching those guys fight?
You know, I mean, it really is crazy. I think everybody just is kind of amped up being there. And, you know, my friend Cooper, who's also a big part of the fight, he also fought year one, and he said that he'd never had any feeling like that, being in the ring with, I don't know how many people were there that year, but, you know, the atmosphere is also only growing too. And so that's also been a focus with the fight is, you know, we're kind of moving away from just the, you know, fraternity life, and we're actually, the fight against suicide has become its own entity, and it's the main benefactor of the Sam Asbury Foundation.
Wow.
And so we're really trying to make it campus wide versus, you know, just a fraternity event. And so it no longer has any affiliation with the fraternities. But yeah, I mean, that atmosphere, it's crazy, and it's only growing. I think this year we'll have a little over 2,000 people in the stands.
Wow.
But something about when those lights go down and Jackson Stewart in his red dress or red coat and cowboy hat, and it's time. You know, it's just there's something fun about that, and it amps everybody up. Everybody's kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
Not only the fighters. So I think it's a special event. Everybody you know, gets ready for.
Yeah. So at the time of this recording, what's happening tonight is the weigh-in. Walk me through what goes on at the weigh-in.
Yeah. So the weigh-in is definitely like a, you know, we want to make it a little more lighthearted, but also, you know, throw some friendly banter in there. And so, you know, we'll have the weigh-in at a bar. Everybody will show up. You know, we're selling merchandise or, you know, just trying to promote ticket sales. But actually each fighter will step on the scale and get their weigh-in 24 hours before their fight, just to make sure everything is sanctioned and, you know, following the rules. But we'll give each other, you know, each of them a little sentence, one-liner to pass across to the man they'll be seeing in the other corner of the ring. So it's fun, but, you know, it's all for a good cause, but also people like to get a little, you know, a little mouthy.
Yeah, have some fun with it. So staying on the subject of the fighters, one of the things that the program, I guess, leading up to it is the fighters get to train at X3 Sports gym in Athens with two different coaches for the teams, and you know, they get to train, I think, 6-8 weeks, something, you know, a serious amount of time. And these guys really do. I mean, when I fought, I was in the best shape of my life, especially after a year of freshman 15. But, you know, those guys go through it. And the seriousness that y'all take is definitely something that should be looked into. I mean, it's awesome how amazing it is. But what is, for the fighters, what does it look like kind of not day to day, but just throughout the process as they're growing toward the fight? I mean, most of them have never even put on boxing gloves.
That's right. So depending on your team, you're either Monday and Wednesday afternoons or Tuesday, Thursday afternoons. So you're boxing twice a week for 6 weeks. And, you know, I think in year one, but also I think what's cool about this event is that it's, you know, taken seriously. It's not just, you know, guys going up there throwing haymakers at each other. It's, you know, it's sanctioned, it's real, there's training involved, there's technique involved. And so I think that's kind of what makes it special and has allowed, you know, this event to flourish and, you know, luckily have no serious injuries as of now, is because we are training the fighters. And so, yeah, so there's a 6-week training period, training twice a week. And I think what's been really cool to see is that people will go get their own gym memberships and train on the other 2 days. So you know they're not going up there to lose. They're taking it seriously, and you know they want to win just as much as you know the guy across from them. So I think yes, they get their training in, but also people train throughout the summer leading up to the fight because they're just anticipating it that bad.
Yeah.
So you know they're bought in and they're ready to fight.
That's so cool. I mean, it really is a buy-in process. I know when I went through, we signed up in the spring before, and then, you know, I was working, but doing a little bit of training, running, and all that stuff. I got my ass kicked, by the way. But no, it is cool how serious people take it. One of the other cool parts about it is what X3 does, and the two coaches. I know for the past 3 years, I don't know this year, you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the two coaches have been with these teams throughout the process each year. And, I mean, they care about it even more, it seems like. These are legit boxing coaches that have legit fighters who fight in, you know, pro-am stuff, at middleweight, heavyweight, featherweight. It doesn't matter. These guys are legit people that teach you the technique. What can you say about what X3 does for this fight and the event?
Yeah, so, I mean, X3 is huge. I mean, without them, you know, there probably would be no fight. And so this year, which has changed a little bit since years previous, we brought Kepner in as another, you know, boxing gym who does the same stuff as X3.
Right.
And so we have one team training with Kepner and the other team training with X3. So I think that'll, you know, bring a little more attention, a little more head button. But you're right. I mean, the coaches really do, you know, they invest in these guys and, you know, they want to see them win just as much as anybody. And so, you know, they provide a lot of the equipment. You know, they're taking time out of their busy schedules. They're truthfully probably missing out on some customers just to train these students for the fight against suicide. So I think, you know, they've really enjoyed the event for the last 3 years. And, you know, as long as they keep coming back, then, you know, I think we're set and we'll have this event for, you know, as long as we can.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's so cool. It's like, I mean, that's like a true boxing match. You got the two gyms, you know, when you watch the Rocky movies or the Creed movies or even real fights now, you know, they say hailing from Philadelphia from Mick's gym when Rocky was fighting. But, you know, those fighters, like I kind of want to go back to them. They really are the man in the arena. What can you say about their kind of mentality through this process? Obviously, they're doing it for the right cause. We talked about it, their profiles and stuff. But, you know, their mentality heading into the ring, can you imagine, or can you speak to what their mindset is, the tunnel vision aspect of it?
I mean, I can't, but if I were them, I couldn't stop thinking about getting my ass kicked in front of 2,000 people. So that would be my main source of motivation. But, you know, I mean, I think it really is just like you block everything out and you're just focused on what's right in front of you. And, you know, we've talked about the atmosphere previously, and they can definitely feel it. I promise you that. But, you know, I think there's just something about, you know, the adrenaline's pumping and like Cooper was saying, he's never had a feeling like that in his life. I think he just had so much adrenaline that he was just, you know, tunnel vision, locked in. And so, I mean, I've never had that feeling, that experience, but I don't know if I want to. But, you know, I think they get a lot out of it. And, you know, it is for the right cause, but, you know, they also take the boxing aspect seriously as well.
Yeah. So can you go back, and if you can't, I know there's so many great moments, can you pick out maybe a favorite fighter or a fight, a moment, a hit, I don't know, a punch thrown, something that stands out over the past 3 years that, you know, you're hoping to see again tomorrow night?
Ooh, that's tough. There are a lot of great moments, that stick in my head. A few of my favorite fighters, I'd say Cameron Evans. You know, I think he's undefeated. He might be retired by now, but you know, he had a great career in the ring. Last year, Tebow Brooks, he brought the pain. I would not want to be across the ring from that guy, I'll tell you that. But you know, it's all in good fun, and there's definitely some good memories. A lot more blood flying than you would expect,
Right.
especially, you know, being down in that front row. You see a little more than you would probably like to. But no, I mean, it's a fun event, and definitely had some great memories throughout the years.
Yeah, it is so cool. So just a little timeout. We will be following this. We are Bulldogs on Instagram, at @the_Hammy Show on Instagram. Social media stuff coming tonight from the weigh-in, and then social media stuff all throughout the fight tomorrow night, as well as fan photos in the Georgia-Florida issue of Bulldog Illustrated. This interview will be a written piece as well as developed on the podcast form, so you can find this content anywhere. Please stay tuned, because it is such a great event, great fun, and something that we've enjoyed, but the both of us, for the past 3 years. But let's reel it back in for a few more questions, and we'll close it out. I know you got a busy schedule with the fight tomorrow.
No worries, I'm here.
So the Classic Center, that they've been the host of it, and obviously the Classic Center has been a staple of entertainment for the Classic City. And the fact that we get to do this and we get to watch it in that event space is something so cool. Talk about the venue. We talked about the atmosphere, but the seats, the ring, I mean, it's a pretty badass little setup.
It is. It is. And so I think I've been lucky enough to almost kind of, like, you show up on Thursday and it's just a huge, you know, ballroom.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like, this room is huge, first off, but, like, how is this going to be turned into, you know, what we're looking for? And then, you know, you come back the next day, and there's, at the loading dock is the big old trailer backing up with all these pieces of the ring. And you're like, I'm lucky I'm not building that thing, but, you know, they're lugging it in, they're throwing it together, and you're like, okay, so the ring's going to be in the center. Once the ring gets in, the Classic Center will start setting up all the chairs, bringing in the riser seats, and you can kind of slowly watch it all come together. And then that night of the fights, where you see kind of all that, like, you know, production aspect of it, all the screens, all the lights.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's when you're like, okay, wow, I've kind of seen it all come together. And so I think, you know, same way with growth in terms of fundraising and awareness. You know, I think our venues have grown over the years too. I know next year we're looking at the Classic Center Arena, which is new, coming in 2025, I believe. Yeah. So I think we're gonna try and, you know, get our name down on that list as early as possible. I don't know what that'll look like, but no, it is a crazy process to see. It's just one big ballroom, and, you know, you show up on Friday night and it's, you know, lights are low and the ring's there and everything's ready to go. So it's a great spot to do it. Also, I think our goal with that, you know, it's a great central location. Right. Just being, you know, everybody can go straight from the fight to the after party, which we hold downtown, or, you know, go do their own thing downtown. I think that's a big aspect of it as well, is just having that location factor and, you know, allowing everybody to conveniently go out afterward. Yeah. So I want to talk about tickets. I don't know if they're sold out. Tell me if I'm wrong. But where can people find tickets? I know it's last minute, but... So you go on thefightaagainstsuicide.com. Click on the little three dots in the top right, and it'll take you to ticketing link, donation link. As of about 2 hours ago, we had sold close to $47,000 in tickets, and had a little under 200 seats remaining. So they're going quick, they're going fast. I mean, the last 3 days, they've just been, you know, being bought up like crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so go get them while they're hot. If you can still snag one here at the last minute. That's awesome. So one of the new factors of this year, I saw it on social media maybe a day ago or two, is the championship belt. And it's awarded to the fighter who raises the most money for the Sam Asbury Fund. And it's literally a heavyweight championship belt. I mean, it's so cool. Literally, you could find it anywhere, MMA, UFC, whatever. But it's legit. And what is that aspect bringing to the fight this year? Well, so I think, you know, you have competition in the ring between fighters, and they're all obviously competitive guys. We kind of wanted to bring some competition to the fundraising aspects. And, you know, we've done great in years past, but we kind of figured that this would be a great way to maybe step it up to the next level. but one of the guys on the Fight Against Suicide team, you know, joined one of our calls one day and was like, guys, what if we got like a real like heavyweight belt?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of trying to find the exact area where we would implement this belt. Like maybe we would just have it sitting up there for looks or something. But,
Yeah.
We kind of found this avenue of fundraising where we could incorporate the belt and add a little competition to the fundraising aspect. And there's some guys who are fundraising to win that belt. I mean, it's awesome. But I haven't actually seen the belt yet. I haven't felt it. But from what I've heard, it's a good 10, 12 pounds. Like it's the real deal. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up with that thing at the end of the night.
That is so cool. A few more questions and we'll wrap it up. But I know that this event has been a huge part of your life and so many people's lives. But really, what have you heard from the Asbury family and what this does for them?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, back to the very beginning of this all, I mean, they just wanted to create awareness and create something that, you know, they could use to honor their son's name and his life. And, you know, David Asbury is super involved, you know, with this fight night. You know, he's obviously very involved with the Sam Asbury Foundation. But, I mean, he just expresses his gratitude all the time to us. I mean, I don't think he ever saw the foundation growing the way it has. You know, he has really put a lot of time and effort into that, and I think he is very appreciative to see, you know, us kind of put in that same effort and energy into the fight night. And so, I mean, he gets on calls with us. You know, he takes us out to lunch. He's constantly working with us through the whole process. So, you know, his appreciation's not unnoticed. His work's not unnoticed. You know, he's doing just as much as anybody to put on this event, and you know, that just kind of goes to show how serious he is from the moment he started this whole thing. So,
yeah.
It's been cool to see.
That is cool. So to close out, I want to ask you this question. What would be, I guess, your message to not only the fans in attendance, but the fans that maybe listen to this or have experienced something like suicide in their families? What would be your message to somebody in order to prevent, in order to give? What is your message in regard to suicide and what this cause is about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just be okay having that difficult conversation. I mean, our goal with this whole thing truly was to get as many people in the same room to talk about, you know, a difficult conversation. I know it's not easy to admit when you're feeling off or you're feeling down, but you know, just don't be afraid to either, you know, introduce those difficult conversations, whether it's you or whether you feel somebody else is, you know, not feeling like themselves. You know, because although it is a difficult conversation, it's a lot less difficult than, you know, dealing with suicide.
Right.
I'll say that. And so, you know, even just to, hey, how are you doing? You know, and be like, are you serious? Like, are you sure you're doing all right?
Yeah.
You know, overcheck on them. I think, you know, it might seem, you know, annoying or something, very little, but I think just start those conversations and they'll start to flow more naturally as we, you know, kind of destigmatize the awkwardness of those conversations.
Yeah, that is amazing. What you're doing is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, especially in the busy schedule and the hours leading up to the weigh-in and the days leading up to the fight. Once again, follow at We Are Bulldogs on Instagram, at @_Hammy Show, and of course, follow TFASUGA, the Fight Against Suicide, on Instagram. You will see unprecedented content of the fight, the weigh-in, anything and everything in between. You might see a little bit of John. You might see some of the fighters. It's going to be a spectacle for everybody to see. And because of social media, not just the fans inside get to see it. So thank you so much again, John. It's been a pleasure. This is, once again, the Hammy Show presented by Bulldog Illustrated. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you at the Fight Against Suicide. Have a good one.